Meeting to order, and if we could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to welcome everyone tonight. Item 3 is city license. We have city license application from Labette Health Medical Center, Forget-Me-Nots, and Davis Contracting LP. Next item is appointments. We are having one vacancy on the park board. Advertisement for the position has been placed on the website, and we'll receive applications till February 15th. So if you're interested in a position of being considered to serve on the park board, complete your application and turn it in, or if you know somebody that is, please get the word out. Adoption of the agenda. Have the commissioners had a chance to review the agenda?
Yes.
Any
Yes.
additions or modifications?
None for me.
Okay, we do have one additional item for commission action listed as item D. Request from Netflix to close Penn Avenue February 6th. So if that's the only addition, I'll entertain a motion to adopt the agenda.
I move we adopt the agenda as amended.
Do I have a second?
I second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passed. Adoption of the consent agenda. Is there any modifications, removals, or?
None for me.
Okay, then I'll entertain a motion.
I have a couple of questions about the consent agenda, the appropriations part.
Okay, let's
Okay, sorry.
remove appropriations into items for commission action. Okay. Do I have a motion for items B and C then?
I move that we approve the items B and C of the consent agenda.
Do I have a second?
I second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Next item on our agenda is public hearings. The first item is a public hearing for 223 West Main Street. I'll open the public hearing.
We have received an email from the realtor that she has what she says is two serious offers on the property. So we would like to give them the opportunity to work through that process to try to see if they can negotiate a selling price on that, as condemning the property would put a major hindrance in being able to sell it and finance it.
So you're recommending that we adjourn the
Yeah,
hearing?
I would say that we adjourn for 60 days.
Okay. I think at that time, then we can we don't need a motion or anything, just consider it adjourned.
You have to adjourn a public hearing to a date and time specific.
Okay,
Which would be March 22nd.
okay. Then I'll close the public hearing. Do I have a motion for the rescheduling of the hearing?
Sure. I'll move that we adjourn the public hearing until March 22nd at 5:30 p.m.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Next public hearing. I'll open the public hearing for 725 North Penn Avenue.
If you can see from the photos, but there was a fire at this property. There was a fire in one of the bedrooms that spread from one bedroom to another bedroom, considerable smoke. water and fire damage to this structure. It is city's staff's recommendation that we proceed with condemnation for this structure.
Okay. Is the property owner's representative here?
I don't see them here.
Okay.
We have discussed it with them, that we were going to bring this, this was going to be an agenda item at this, and we have sent letters of notification to them for that.
Then also, is there any public interest, any public concern about the property? Yes. Would you like to come forward and address the commission? State your name.
I don't know a lot about this particular structure, but it is one of those older structures on older homes along North Penn Avenue that comprises one of the entrances to the city, a residential entrance to an older town like Independence is really charming. And every house along there that's lost is a loss. They become fragmented and they lose their character. So the main street from the east into the west as you drive in is charming. And then the Penn, past the cemetery, that section of Penn that still maintains its residential character is also charming. And this house itself is beautiful. It's a wonderful house with a minimal amount of fire damage. It's surprising that a beautiful house like that, with what appears to be one relatively small area that's been damaged, wouldn't be recoverable. So there seems to be more to the story than we're hearing here. And I don't have a lot of background, but surely I just wish we had the full story on this house. I hate to see this sort of thing happen. Thank you.
Thank you.
Don, anything else you can fill us in on that or concerns?
Well, we're looking at a picture from the outside of the structure.
Sure.
So, and that's what we provide here when we do this. If you look inside, if you look at the picture, the second picture, you can see that the walls is affected, the roofing framing is affected, the ceiling framing is affected. It goes inside the house. Not only is there fire when you have fire from 20 years of adjusting claims for insurance companies, you have the fire damage, you have the smoke damage throughout there that affects the property, and you also have the water damage that's used to put out the fire. Water travels down and affects wall surfaces, affects drywall, insulation, flooring, electrical, so on and so forth. So there is quite a bit more damage here, and it is enough damage that I think that we need to condemn it. Just because we condemn it doesn't mean that it will be tore down. It means we start the process to work with the owners if they can and are willing to rehabilitate it.
What was, I'm
Well, I
sorry.
really
Go ahead.
need to close the public hearing for commission discussion first, if we don't have any other public. So I'll close the public hearing and now open it for our discussion. So please
Go ahead,
continue
Louis.
on.
Okay, when you talked with the property owner about the status of the house, what were the concerns? What were the reasoning? First of all, why they're not here tonight?
I can't answer that.
Do they have, is it a lack of finances, no insurance?
There was no insurance on the property.
Wow.
That is correct.
Okay.
So that is an impingement on being able to move forward. As a normal process, if this was insured, then the insurance company would would do an adjustment, and they could work towards rehabilitating it. There was no insurance on this property.
And as far as being you have an insurance background, can you give a general estimate of damage?
Damage from the
dollar-wise?
fire?
Yes.
I would probably say the damage from the fire would approach $30,000-$40,000. But you have to couple that with the condition of the interior of the house that we were working with. This had not been condemned.
Right.
We had received complaints on it, had brought before the the commission because of the complaints, but we had not chosen to condemn it at this point to allow the homeowner to work towards getting it, or we wouldn't have to consider it for condemnation. But, you know, we also have other issues inside the house before this happened. So this is an unfortunate incident on top of already trying to rehabilitate the structure.
What were those other issues inside the house prior to the fire?
Well, initially the complaint came in because of trash that was piled up inside of the house and causing a smell for the owner. So there was a lot of trash that had been piled up inside their pets that had been in there that hadn't been cleaned up afterwards. There's no heating or air conditioning in there. We had electrical issues. We have issues with some of the walls and ceilings, flooring, those type of things.
And the house has been unoccupied for how long? What time frame?
Well, it was occupied at the time of the fire by the
Okay.
person that owned it, was trying to rehabilitate it. So prior to how long it had been unoccupied before it changed ownership, and initially a complaint was brought by neighbors that we pursued. Then it had changed ownership, and the new owner, I think, has owned it approximately a year. So.
Don, not to pin you down, I know you haven't done a formal cost estimate or anything,
Right.
but that house is certainly worth $30,000 or $40,000, which was the number you threw out for repairs from the fire. But you're saying
Right.
that would just be the tip of the iceberg? Is that a fair
Well,
statement?
I mean, you know, you'd have to, if you look just from what you can see, I mean, obviously have other photos, but
Right.
from what you can see, you have to reframe at least two walls. You have to reframe you have a considerable amount of framing to be done in the roof and the ceiling. And then you have to look what water damage is done below, what smoke has done. Do you have to take out drywall? What's heat done to it? Things like that. I mean, just from the fire damage, I would think it's $30,000, $40,000. The other, other water issues and different things. So we're not saying if we condemn it that it's going to be torn down right away. That starts the clock for the owner to start working on either repairing it or ultimately having it removed. But because of the fire damage, you can see that that's quite compromised.
Right.
That wall, that back wall, not being left untreated, eventually it will start to collapse, that portion of the house.
So you're looking at if the owner now would come in and try to bring this house back up to standards, he'll have to meet new electrical,
Yeah.
plumbing,
Right.
all the other codes associated with that. So it's more than just repairing fire damage. It's
Right,
bringing everything up to a
bringing
current
everything
level.
up to code, the whole house. Because once it gets condemned, it's going to have to be able to pass the inspection to get off the
Right.
condemnation. So
Okay.
hopefully that paints a more fuller picture of why we're making this recommendation.
Right. So the owner will still have the choice.
The owner still will have the choice.
And you said the owner was already trying to do a renovation while they lived in it?
They were trying to do some renovations, yes.
So initially, it was brought to the commission not on structural issues
It was
for condemnation, but it was because the blight condition.
blight conditions,
the
yes.
Debris. That's kind of what's confusing when we have a house or a structure for condemnation, that you assume there's structural issues instead of more blight.
Right.
So if somebody was living in it, it must have been
And that's why we were
fairly
working,
safe.
that's why
Yeah.
we had been working with the
Yeah.
owner up until this point. We hadn't recommend condemnation. The fire is what's triggered that.
Yeah, and ideally, in this situation with no insurance and the owner's not able to continue with renovation, it could be put on the market and sold, and then
Yep. Could be.
If there's no insurance, I'm guessing there's no loan? No mortgage?
No, not that we're aware of.
So any further questions or comments from the commission?
I have none.
Then with that, I'll entertain a motion.
I will move that 725 North Penn Avenue be condemned as dangerous and unsafe.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I second.
Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. The item, we'll open up public hearing for 1228 North 6th. Don, would you?
This was another structure that had a fire. Actually, there was 2 fires in this. It had never been condemned. But we were, as you may remember, attorney for the mortgage company has been to several of the commission meetings as we've brought this up to be considered to set a date for condemnation. We've worked with them as they've gone forward to get repairs. They had a contractor, there was a hiccup. They had a new contractor has come in and repaired all the fire damage. As a matter of fact, they chose to repair more than the fire damage. They chose to basically redo the whole inside. We're satisfied with the work that's been done. We have no desire to consider it further for condemnation, want to remove it from consideration for condemnation.
Okay. Property owner present. Would anyone in the public like to address the commission while we're in open hearing? Okay, with that, I'll close the public hearing for commission discussion. Commissioners have questions?
Looks like great news.
Yeah, I've got to take a look at part of the property. It's an area that I walk, and I was glad to see them being able to rehabilitate that, bring it back up. Looks good.
Yeah, it's really cute.
Yep.
Okay, if there's no other questions or comments from the commission, I'll entertain a motion then. And we do have a resolution in the packet.
We've got a corrected one. There was nothing wrong with the previous one, but it just spells it out a little bit more clearly that we're going to rescind the resolution for the public hearing. Because it wasn't ever condemned, but
That's-
anytime just to open up that public hearing, you have to do a resolution on it, so it'll clear the title on it.
Okay, so then,
There's copies there.
yes,
You want to see it?
so we can get the wording correct for the minutes.
You gave it to me, didn't you?
Here's back. I just have one copy.
So do we need a motion to remove it from consideration or just pass the
To adopt the resolution to rescind.
I'd like to make a motion that we adopt resolution number 2818-007. A resolution,
Secret agent.
yeah, a resolution rescinding a previous resolution which
Shaken, not stirred.
set a hearing date to consider condemnation.
I make a motion that we adopt resolution number 2018-007.
Okay. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried.
All right. Shaken, not stirred.
You want this back, Jeff?
No.
That's right.
Okay. And I succeeded in shuffling enough papers that
You need this?
I missed my agenda. There it is. Okay. Items for commission action. Item A, consider proclaiming January 28th through February 3rd, 2018 as Catholic School Week. We had a request from the school requesting we issue a proclamation. No one will be here today, so if Commission likes, I could read the proclamation and then we could entertain our choice afterwards. So Proclamation 2018, National Catholic School Week, January 28th through February 3rd, 2018. Whereas St. Andrew Catholic School is celebrating over 100 years of Catholic education and independence, whereas Catholic schools seek to teach Catholic values, promote excellence in education, prepare students to defend their Catholic faith and to live as active disciples of Christ, whereas St. Andrew Catholic School promotes virtue-based restorative discipline by dedicating ourselves to living virtue, supporting others in living virtue, committing to being constructive and turning conflicts into opportunities to grow in virtue. Whereas this year's theme is Learn, Serve, Lead, Succeed, which highlights the school's focus on faith development, academic excellence, and dedication to community service. Whereas Catholic Schools Week is a joint project of the National Catholic Educational Association and the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops. Now therefore, I, Leonard Kaflish, Mayor of the City of Independence, do hereby proclaim January 28th through February 3rd, 2018 be established as National Catholic Schools Week and join St. Andrew's Catholic School in celebrating. Do I have a motion that we adopt the resolution?
I make a motion that we adopt the resolution
I guess it's really a proclamation.
or proclamation.
I'll second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Next item, item B, consider setting the date of March 23rd, 2018 at 5 p.m. for public hearings to consider condemnation of the following structures as dangerous and unsafe located at. Okay, you want to walk us through these?
We have 606 Fountain. You can tell here that this is in a state of disrepair. We have received complaints about this property. Would like to set the date of March 22nd, 2018. Staff recommendation that we consider this for condemnation.
Okay. Any questions concerning the residents? Okay, I'll entertain a motion then.
I move to set the date of March 22nd, 2018 for a public hearing to consider condemnation at 606 Fountain Street.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second?
Okay, motion and a second. Do I have, or all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carried. 721 South 18th Street.
I found out that this used to be the Galaxy Bar at one point. I have never stepped foot in there.
Sure, Don. We really believe that.
I swear I have never stepped foot in there until we received a complaint about it. If you go in there, you see it's overgrown, but what you can't see from the photos, because it's the exterior, that roof is starting to fall through at certain places. The roof structure is starting to deteriorate, and so it's in a state of serious disrepair. So it has become dangerous and unsafe. It is staff's recommendation that we set the date of March 22nd, 2018 to set a public hearing to consider it for condemnation.
Any questions?
Have you talked to the owner?
We have sent letters there. We have not talked to the owners, but we have notified them of our intent to do this.
Are they local?
Kansas City. In Kansas City.
Thank you.
That building's been vacant for
A number of years.
20-plus years.
Yeah.
I can actually admit I had been in it at one time.
Well,
So
I'm
is
gonna.
Jeff.
I was a lot younger, taller, and thinner.
Weren't we all?
I know it's hard to believe. Yeah.
But I've only been here 20 years. But so
You were just reading the Beaner, right?
Oh, yeah, right. And for business, yes.
Was a Galaxy Club. They used to serve lunch. I eat lunch there.
Yeah.
John
Yeah.
Thornton used to run it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it was a long way back.
Also a famous homicide there many moons ago when I was county attorney.
Yeah, that's right.
Somebody was shot.
Yeah. And that may go further back than 20 years.
If there's no other questions, I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion that we set March 22nd, 2018 at 5:30 p.m. to consider 728 South 18th to be considered for condemnation.
I'll second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Next structure is at 812 South Fifth.
Yes. So this is one that we had received a complaint on. As you can see, I don't know if you can tell, but it is, the eave is starting to fall. And if you look farther back, the roof sheathing, the roof decking is going through, is not there anymore. Probably a good 15 to 20 feet back on that south side, allowing water to go into there. So it would be staff's recommendation that we set a date of March 22nd, 2018 to consider this property for condemnation.
Can I assume nobody's living in it?
No, there's nobody living in there. If you can also tell by the front where the deck is, it's starting to deteriorate there and fall right there as well. So. And I do not know if did you want to have some time to speak about it?
No, I talked to you about it. I
Mhm.
told you that we go ahead and tear it down.
Right. Yep.
I just,
Are you the owner?
yeah,
Oh, would you like to come?
well, I can talk right here.
Well, it's on video with the microphone. It helps.
That's why I'm gonna sit right here.
That's what I thought.
I didn't want to speak out of turn, but since he's here, we have discussed the possibility of him having that taken down, and so.
And I've got, G&G Dozer supposed to be giving me a bid, but
Yeah.
I haven't seen anything.
Yeah. We just want to work through the process with it while we're working with him to work that out. So.
Sir, what's your name?
Mike Estes.
Okay, thank you.
So with the schedule, probably by the 22nd of February, you'll have more information with the schedule for us by then.
22nd of March.
February.
I called G&G Dozer when this first started up, and he came and looked at it, but I hadn't seen it.
Yeah.
Okay.
If in between,
I can get another number from Don for another guy. You said
Yep.
there was a guy.
yeah, I can give you a couple more numbers as well. If
Okay.
between now and March 23rd, if we've moved forward and it's not there, then
Right.
we'll.
I just need to know
February
how
22nd
long.
or March
March 22nd.
March
You-
22nd.
You have, after we do this process, if it does get condemned on the 23rd, then you'd have up to 9 months to get it done. So.
I'll have it.
Okay.
Okay. So with that, would the commission like to proceed? Do I have a motion?
I'm happy to do that. I move that we set the date of March 22nd, 2018 for a public hearing to consider condemnation of 812 South Fifth as dangerous and unsafe.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Next structure is 11.
One more thing. I can have it down quicker than that if you want to get some money out.
I'll let you take that up with him.
That's the thing, problem right there.
Yeah.
I understand.
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll just have to continue on. We'll wait. Got more time than money.
There's no grants or anything like that.
That's right.
Not for
Yeah.
that.
Okay, 1110 West Main.
There was a fire there several months ago. If you can see in the second and third picture, it was in the kitchen and storage area right there. Went through the roof, which means it went up through the ceiling framing, roof framing. This is not a big house. So when you look at how much roof framing would have to be done, it's at least half of the roof. Since this is prominent on Main Street, we want to go through the process to get either the owner to work forward to get it repaired or to take it down because it's prominent as you go across the overpass. If it doesn't get done and it just sits there, I think it just gets worse because the amount of damage doesn't allow anybody to live in there right now because it's burned through. It doesn't really sell because it's a smaller picture, but it's burned through. There's a hole in the roof on the backside, so it can't be. It's not habitable as it is.
And what is the policy for percent of fire damage that we go to?
The value of this
condemnation?
home, it would exceed 75% of the value of this home.
Okay.
The amount of damage.
I knew it had changed before. It was anything that had a fire, it was brought immediately.
And we've
condemned.
discussed what we've.
Now we've had 3 structures
Right.
that have had fires that weren't condemned.
Right.
So to be consistent.
Right. Yeah.
Is that
The
a
value
written
of the-
policy?
What's that?
Is that in writing,
And what it is there's a state law that
the
says
state statute?
if the damage is more than 75%.
Right.
And the insurance company has paid in 15% of the policy to the city, for the city to hold that money,
Mm-hmm.
they have to initiate condemnation. That only applies if it's 75% or greater. So if
Okay.
I don't know if there's insurance here.
No, we're not aware of any
That really doesn't
insurance
apply.
on this, but the amount of damage versus the value of the home, it would exceed 75%.
Jeff, right off the top of your head, what is that state statute number? You happen to have that?
To KSA 40-3901.
All right, thank you.
Don, is the owner present?
I don't believe so.
But they're local?
Yes.
It's also,
Do they have any plans? Or?
We have not been able to get a hold of them. The address is the same address as the home, so we're not sure.
So we may or may
where
not
they're
be
at.
local.
Yeah. So,
Gary and Leonard, did I give you guys one of these with those?
and there is
Why don't I make one for each?
nobody living in the structure presently. So our main concern is making
Right.
starting the process so we can work with them to repair if that's their intent, or if there's not, to make sure that it doesn't deteriorate further.
But we got to find him
Right.
first.
We got to find them first. Yeah.
Okay, any other questions?
No, I have none.
Not, I'll entertain a motion.
I move to set the date of March 22nd, 2018 for public hearings to consider condemnation of the following structure as dangerous and unsafe. And that would be 1110 West Main Street.
I'll second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Next property is 1320 West Locust Street.
This is, it's hard, it's back on Locust, and in the summer, it's hard to know that it's there. In the fall and winter, you can tell that it's there. But, I mean, it's, most of the inside is just gone and stripped. So we just have basically the framing, and it's starting to deteriorate pretty well inside. There's no windows, no doors, anything like that's overgrown. And the owner was here earlier. I don't know if they're still here. Called me at 5 o'clock and wanted to make sure that we were still having the meeting, but I don't know if they stayed. But it is staff's recommendation that we set the date of March 22nd, 2018 to consider this structure as dangerous, unsafe, and to consider it for condemnation.
Okay. And the owner is not present, correct?
But you had conversations with the owner.
Had a conversation with him today. It was his impression that he told me he's working towards having it tore down.
Okay. No plans to
Wanted
save
to
it.
know if today was the day that was going to set the clock, and I told him today we're just considering putting it on the agenda in a future date to consider it for condemnation. So he wasn't sure whether he was going to stay for that or not.
Okay.
How could he not want to stay for this fascinating meeting?
Oh, really? Well, with that then, if there's no more questions, I'll entertain a motion. Get to the exciting part.
I'll move that we set a date of March 22nd, 2018 for a public hearing to consider condemnation of 1320 West Locust Street as dangerous and unsafe.
Second?
A second?
Okay, I have a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Next item on the agenda is consider authorizing staff to seek bids for the removal of 716 South 6th.
This was one that had a fire, it's been a while ago. There's no insurance on the property. I think photos, the third and fourth photos can show that it was in the upstairs bedroom, considerable damage in that end of the home, and really the front end of the home doesn't have a whole lot of damage other than smoke, a little bit of water damage. So we were trying to work with the owner. There is no insurance on this property. They said that they don't have the means to do it. We told them that the natural course would be it was condemned. The natural course would be to set dates to see if they're moving forward on getting repairs that have not been at the appointments to do that. So there is nothing moving forward. As you can tell, there's significant damage on the back, and it's just going to continue to get worse. There's no intent shown by the owners to do repairs. So we would, it would be our staff's recommendation that you authorize us to seek a bid for removal of 716 South 6th Street.
Okay. Why is this the only one going for bid? I thought we were packaging.
We do have several others that we got asbestos samples sent out. We have the results back, so we have those packages. This would be added to that packet.
Okay. Because I thought we had authorized it to be
Not this
removed.
particular one, but other ones we had.
It's been over a year.
For the fire?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was condemned quite a while ago.
Yeah.
We've been trying to see if they would move forward on repairing, and it's become obvious that it's not going to be repaired.
Okay. So it's not going to be bid by itself. It'll be
No, it's not
bid-
going to be bid by itself. It's going to be bid with, I think there's 8 others that we've got the asbestos samples back. 4 of them had tested positive for asbestos. 4 of them didn't, so we'll package that with them. And so the asbestos, we'll send you when we get bids back for the asbestos removal for your approval of those bids and move forward together with all those.
You know, what would be helpful for, I know for me, I don't know the other commissioners, how they feel, if we had a graph or a flow chart like a spreadsheet, you list the properties, so, you know, when we first send out for public hearing, that's recorded in a date, and as you go over, you can track the status, because sometimes when they come back, I try to go back and look in packets to remember where we were, and just, well, the one on North 6th Street, I had called Kelly about it, because I didn't think we had condemned it, had some questions about that. If we had a spreadsheet that could track the properties as they come through, and then either monthly or whenever we're scheduling discussion on it, it would be updated for us. Then we would be able to track. And I know
That's a great idea.
A couple years ago, one property fell through the crack and it was sold, and no one knew. And,
Yeah.
you
There was that
know,
one on 10th Street we were trying to take action on. It had been condemned like 8 years earlier or something.
yeah.
We can work on
It would
preparing
really
that for you.
really be helpful.
Yep.
Yeah, that would be nice.
We could do that.
So, Commission, have any other questions
But,
for Don?
yeah, this one was
This
just, we're trying to work with the owners to get it repaired if that's what they wanted to do. They haven't done it, so now we want to bring it forward to having it removed because there's not the means and the desire to get it repaired. So.
Okay. Any other questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we authorize staff to get bids for removal of the structure at 716 South 6th.
Second?
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Next item, item D, would be the request from Netflix to close a portion of Penn Avenue, February 6th. Chief Harris.
Justin Vogt with Netflix called me this week. I believe he's the producer of the crew that's filming Last Chance U with ICC football. And they are coming into town for 3 days, and they have it set in their schedule on February the 6th at 5 p.m. to film marching band footage on Penn from Maine north to Myrtle. And they're only going to be in town for 3 days. That was the only time that would work for them, so I told them that I would see what I could do.
So they're asking that we close the street to traffic?
For 1 hour, from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. on February 6th.
But does that mean you have to put out barricades much earlier to tell cars to get lost, or?
Oh, I don't think it had to. It would just do it right then and move
Okay.
on. They're
All right.
just marching down the street.
Okay.
Not going to have to clear the parked cars,
No,
just block traffic.
he didn't ask me to do that. So we,
Yeah. It's okay with me.
If no other questions, then I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion that we close the street to traffic between 5 and 6 for 1 hour on February the 6th to allow Netflix to take footage of marching band performance.
We have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Motion and second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. The next item will return to item A of appropriations. Louis, you had some questions?
Yeah, I did have a question or two here, Mike, and you can help me out right off the bat. In looking at the Westar Energy here on January 26, 2018, we have two amounts here, one for $41,140.15 and one for $34,428.25. What does that break down to? What is that actually?
Louis, on that, I would actually have to pull those invoices.
Okay.
Now, there are 2 payment cycles for
Okay.
Westar. Part of that has to do with amounts that they draft automatically. The other part has to do with actual structure. So you have all your street lighting, your signals, things of that nature. That goes into one of them. I'm not sure which one of which on this, but I can certainly get you some detail and pull those invoices for you, get you that information.
Okay, that would be great. So the account is actually, it's a group billed account.
Yeah, it dumps all the properties in there.
Okay.
So it'll actually come through for each property. We'll get an invoice for each one of them. So actually, when you see this scanned in invoice and the PO for that, for both of those, there's multiple invoices that are involved.
Sure. So it's kind of a cumulative total, and that's what I was getting at. What a breakdown as to what amount covered what, because there
Sure.
were 2 different amounts
Yeah.
there.
One of them covers the street lighting signals. The other one covers structures.
Okay. My other question is, I don't know whether this is a time to bring it up or not. Maybe it's at another time, but it does concern the energy usage there at the facility. It does involve not a billing amount here, but it involves billing. I know we had talked at one time in a previous meeting, other commissioners had and the staff had about getting some electrical data on Building D and on the CEP facility. And what Westar used to do in the past, which I used to do in the past, they would set recorders. They could set a recorder on each transformer that serves the Building D, and a transformer that serves the power plant that feeds Building D. And they could set that up on a 15-minute demand, and they could look at that demand on the hour, every hour for 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 30 days, whatever the city would choose that they would want, and we could actually compare the demand simultaneously at each building.
Okay.
Compare what Building D is and what the power plant is, and look at them side by side to see when your peak demand is being set, at what date and what time, if it's set, they'll give us a bearing as far as when it's being set. We would have the ability to look at what your power factor would be on a monthly basis, because your billing, it's set up, you're on a medium general service rate now, and your power factor comes into play on that. I believe with Western Energy, you have to maintain a 90% power factor, and that would be for the month. Anything under that, there would be a penalty that would come into play. So that would address what the power factor would look like over that period of time. That would give the city and the commissioners a chance to look at, like I said, your peak, what your off-hour peak looks like, and it would give us some valuable information as to what the electrical data looks like now, being that even though the imaging center, that equipment is still online.
It is.
But the equipment itself is not actually being used. But it would give us a good chance to see a side-by-side comparison, and they would set those recorders on each facility, and then they would download the information, and you could set it up probably on a 15-minute demand, because that's what Western bills. But that would give you good insight, and if you would share that with us, it would give us good insight. And
We're working with Carrie on something
Okay, good.
right now anyway, so we'll just ask her on that to get those put in place.
Okay, great.
Okay.
That would be great. That would really give you some valuable information that we could all sit down and look at and do some comparison. And my other question was, and I think I already have an answer for this, on the sign link, the contract for $6,776.13.
Which one is it?
It's sign link, the park sign deposit.
Okay.
That's something that's covered by 4PAWS that they've
Matter of fact,
agreed
they
to
brought me the check for it this
pick
afternoon
up.
before the meeting.
Okay, well, that's kind of what I thought.
Yeah.
But I thought I would ask.
Yeah.
So, okay, that covers the questions I had.
Okay.
Thank you, Mike.
You bet.
So with that, then, I'll entertain a motion to approve the appropriations.
I'll move that we approve item A of the consent agenda.
A second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Okay. Next item, reports. Update on the completion of the 2016 city audit.
Absolutely. Well, I visited with you all some previously, myself, Craig, Lewis. We haven't had a chance to visit about that,
Right.
what some of the delays were. But just to give you an update from what we previously discussed, as the audit was started, the auditors got into it a ways and came to us, and it was they needed to expand the scope of the audit. And by doing so, that extended the time. It's caused them more work. It's also involved more work on my end of it getting complete. We have gotten them everything, and they are in the process of completing that now. And we should have the final report within probably about 2 weeks.
Okay. With the link to do it and get everything set, I guess, is there any information to know, we're really in the time that you're probably working on getting things ready for 2017 audit.
Sure.
So the problems that delayed 2016 audit, if you don't get it till 2 more weeks, then how's that going to affect 2017?
It should not. This should not affect the timing of 2017.
Yeah, the problems that were uncovered, how did that affect bottom line or finances any?
We don't have a final report on that yet.
Because that could affect our starting balance.
It could, and that's a normal occurrence every year. They'll come back in not only with the items that they have, but they'll also have journal entries that have to be done to impact balances. So that's just a normal course of things.
Seems kind of critical when, I think in the past, we've had our audits in September at the latest, and now,
Yeah, they're usually completed by August or September. But in this scenario, with the extended scope that they had to do, the testing that was involved in that, plus it butted up to other audits that they already had scheduled, so they're trying to fit all this in and keep everybody going. So we'll have that information. Unfortunately, it's much delayed. We don't like it any more than you do or the community. Understand where we're at. It does impact things, but we are getting it resolved, and we are near completion.
Is there a timeline as far as that being resolved? You're looking at 2 weeks?
Yeah, they
2
were
weeks less?
Yeah, they were talking about having it done the first week of February. So
And-
now I don't know if we'll actually have the audit in time for them to present
Okay.
at the next commission meeting, but they will be making a presentation to the commission on it.
Are we in violation of some
We
state statute
are-
and other penalties involved in that
There
because
should
we
not-
did not meet the deadline?
And I'll let Jeff speak to this a little bit. We are in violation. It is out of our control. I've talked to the auditors about it, either late November, early December. They said it would not be done in time. We were aware of that then. They said there is no extension to be filed. Could not file an extension. There was nothing there. So they would present it, get it to us, and file it with the state authority as appropriate. They said it's occurred. This isn't the first community this has occurred in, and they have not known of any penalties being handed down for it coming in late.
Would this be a first for Independence this time?
I can't answer that.
I doubt that.
I have no idea on that.
Okay. And are we in the process, you're working on the fourth quarterly
Yes.
report?
Yes.
I know you're new to the process and to the job. And I'm new, so if this question seems a little odd, I'm just trying to find out information. Is this something you were unaware of, and it became known to you when these reports needed to be filed, or what was the
Are you
what was the
talking about the
determination?
treasurer's statements?
Yeah, your
Or the
quarterly.
audit?
Your quarterly.
The
statements,
quarterly?
Yeah.
I was just unaware that they were required to be. The timing on it,
Right.
and in addition to the publication, I was unaware of that. And I think Leonard actually brought it to my attention, if I recall. And we were working on them, but unfortunately, I wasn't aware of any time frame or deadlines on that. So we're aware of it now. We're moving forward to get it corrected.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mike.
On the audit, I guess there's two audits. One, if we have federal bonds or federal grants, we have to do an audit, a separate audit turned in.
It's the same audit. If it's over $750,000 in federal grant money, that triggers that audit, but we do that anyways. It's the same audit covers that.
So
sorry.
one of them had a filing date of September. Did we
And
make
they-
that?
They've been informed of it.
Okay.
Yeah. So anybody where we can make exception to or notify them that it's going to be late, we've already done that. The state, on the other hand, there is no filing delay on it. You just get it in when you get it in.
I guess the most important part, it's not who or what, but have we taken steps to make sure it's not going to happen again?
That, they will have a full report on that. I'm aware of some of the things that have caused this, and yeah, we've already begun the process of remedying that in 2017.
Okay.
So,
You look at everything, when we're coming up now is getting the figures ready for the 2017 audit and needing to make sure that the same thing doesn't occur here, plus starting to look into budget for 2019, that it gets pretty hectic. And,
it does.
that would be my concern is we've taken action as we get notified that we're able to move forward and take the pressure.
Yeah, we're already moving
off.
forward with this,
Okay.
with those things. We don't need the audit to move forward with that properly.
Okay. Any questions?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Thank you for the report.
You bet.
In our packet, we have city board minutes. Are there any questions from the commission on any of those?
I have none.
I have none.
If not, then we'll proceed to commission comments. Comments?
I don't have any. Thank you.
Yes, Leonard, I do. I've done some research here concerning EMS and potential problems that all EMS organizations face nationwide. It's nothing new when you consider the health market and the status of funding. We all have issues, but I have done some research on EMS departments, and I've got some information here I'd like to share with each of the commissioners, with Kelly, and I have a copy for Craig. If I could go ahead and present this to you gentlemen and Kelly at this time.
Okay.
Thank you.
And we can take this and look through it, and then if we have any question, discuss it later. Do you have any other?
No, this is for you to, for each of the
Okay.
parties involved to review and take a look at, and then we can comment on it if we have comments at the
Okay.
next meeting. That's okay?
Okay. Well, the January 8th meeting, I mentioned a work session with the commissioners and city manager. I was wanting to look at possible dates that would be available.
Sounds great.
Of course, pending Craig
Right.
getting well. I don't know if next Thursday evening.
I can do next Tuesday.
I know he won't know at this point in time.
I don't know, if we could just kind of set it, I think by statute, we can set the date within 2 hours. I know we'd want to do longer notice than that, but I'd like to, if that evening would be available, if we could tentatively set it, and then pending Craig's recovery.
So next Thursday, you said?
Yeah,
At
what
five-
is that, the 20,
Is that the
First.
first?
The first of February.
February 1st,
February 1st.
5:30 or
Yeah.
a different time? 5:30?
5:30?
Okay, we'll do that.
What I was thinking is just kind of a brainstorming session that we can look at direction, kind of update us on some projects that are coming up, with the city hall. Also, I noticed in the city ordinance that we have provisions for an economic development commission, and it's got specific goals dealing with economic development. Maybe we could discuss that possibility too. And then kind of, as we're getting ready for 2019 budget, kind of the discussion, just give us a time to share as a commission where, we have that problem not being able to discuss outside of the commission meeting, but, just come together and look for a common direction for the city. So
That's a great idea.
if we could hold that tentative, and then Kelly, you'll let us know when Craig's available. I think that was all that I had. With that, we'll move on to public concerns. I think there was one here earlier. Okay. Debbie?
My name's Debbie Miller. Independence taxpayers have been burdened with higher taxes not only because of decades of unsupervised and neglectful management by two former city managers, but also by the failure of elected and unelected city officials to take timely and decisive actions on matters which may negatively impact the city's welfare and taxpayers' wallets. Examples include the long delay in implementing water and sewer rate increases postponed for months the collection of desperately needed revenues for the financially strapped water department. Last January, a psychiatric hospital, which would have brought badly needed jobs and other substantial economic benefits to the area, was interested in purchasing the former Mercy Hospital. However, since the Commission still had not made a decision about city facilities, that valuable opportunity for the community may have been squandered. 18 months later, the steering committee presented its recommendation for city facilities to the Commission. However, after 7 years and the expenditure of hundreds of thousands of tax dollars, city facilities improvements remain in a state of limbo. Therefore, taxpayers must continue to pay the operating expenses and maintenance expenses for two city halls. Last June, the Commission instructed City Manager Whitehead and City Attorney Chubb to work on resolving a long-standing dispute with KDOT. Until that dispute has been resolved, the City may be unable to obtain certain large and money-saving KDOT grants. Nearly 7 months later, it remains unresolved. The delinquency and or absence of financial reports and audits throughout the last year violate state law and put into question the integrity of the city's record-keeping. Commissioner Ususi once said the city was a business, so it's time it started acting like one. Unlike the city, successful and responsible businesses address their problems, especially those resulting in significant financial losses, in the timeliest manner possible. They also expect individuals being paid to resolve such problems to resolve them. The main reason for inaction by the city has often been a lack of adequate leadership at City Hall. If Independence is going to start moving forward, this commission must set the expectation of City Manager Whitehead that in the very near future he will present recommendations for the resolution of the KDOT dispute to the Commission. It must also set the expectation that henceforth all other issues facing the city will be addressed in the most timely, responsible, and financially feasible manner possible. The perpetual foot dragging by elected and unelected officials at enormous taxpayer expense can no longer be tolerated. It's time for this city to start moving forward and time for this commission to make sure it does so. Thank you.
Thank you. There were no other requests? Okay, with that, I'll entertain motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion adjourned. Or meeting adjourned. Motion to.
Yeah, we're out of here.